Welcome, everybody, to the Symptom Free for the Holiday Symposium. Today, I have the pleasure of having Talia Halberer with me today. So she's going to correct me if I got that name incorrect, but I did the best that I could with what I knew at that moment. So I'd love to tell you a little bit about Talia. So Talia is an autoimmune disease reversal coach, a transformational coach, and a mindset expert. She was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and through her personal healing journey, she studied the mind-body connection and how to use it to reverse symptoms, heal the body on a cellular level, and achieve the freedom and trust in the body that many people lose after an autoimmune diagnosis. I want to just point out that is unbelievably important, is because when we are diagnosed with multiple sclerosis or another possible autoimmune condition, what's going to happen to us is all of a sudden we stop trusting ourselves. We start to listen to what the doctors are telling us. We start to walk down this road, not saying that they're bad by any means, but we ultimately forget to hear what truly heals us from within. So Talia, through the work that she teaches, she managed to reverse the challenging symptoms she used to live with, like vision issues, fatigue, numbness, weakness in her hands and legs, and pins and needle sensations throughout her body, chronic pain, brain fog. And what she's turned this into is she can walk independently again. She's regaining her life by taking a look at those pieces. And so something that I just truly believe so deeply in my heart for everybody that knows me is this just such a beacon of light as she goes through and all this. And what she was having symptoms of, I don't think is far-fetched from anything that we all may be experiencing now, or something we may be worried about what may happen to us in the future. So since then, she has been teaching others through coaching, workshops, and her flagship program, Mind to Body Method, where people learn her unique method and techniques on becoming in charge of their own mind to create the life that they truly want to be living themselves pain-free, and having individuals actually heal themselves from within and begin that journey of healing. So Talia has made it her mission to support people on her healing journey. And she helped and has helped countless people in achieving these results. What I love about Talia is that she believes that love is the foundation of healing. Whether it's emotional healing or physical, it's available to everybody as long as they truly choose it. Welcome, Talia, to this beautiful symposium that we're putting together.
It is absolutely my pleasure to be here with you. And you welcomed me, but I want to welcome all of our listeners, because this could be a welcome to a new life for yourself, a new future that, unlike the past that you've had, this time you can start creating it from a place of consciousness and true choice. And this is where our opportunity becomes to turn our reality from a disease to a manifestation of everything that our hearts truly desires. So I'm just so excited that so many people are in a space of understanding they have higher power than what we are on a regular basis being led to believe. So thank you. And thank you for saying my name really wrong also.
Could you say it correctly for us?
I'm just joking with you. The way that I'm saying it is Talia Halberer, because it's a very common name around the world. In America, people call it Talia, say Talia. In Latin America, right now in Costa Rica, they say Talia. But as long as people use the right letters, I just answer.
Thank you so much for your grace and understanding. So today we were going to talk about, and I love that you like how you're posing this topic of what we're going to walk down, is reversing MS through love. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
I believe that we are a lot more than what we are able to see when we look in the mirror, when we look down at our body. We're more than we're able to feel and to hear. We are spiritual beings that arrive to this planet as part of a journey that is bigger than our human mind is often able to comprehend.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that our goal, call it mission, maybe in coming here, is to come back to love. And for me, when I say love, I don't mean just love, like when we feel for our kids or for our friends or partners or animals necessarily. Love is, for me, an umbrella of all the good that already exists, whether or not we feel like we have it and experience it. It's all the good that already exists that I believe at any point we have the ability to become it, to feel it, to be it. And of course, it's more challenging when we're experiencing challenges like, living with multiple sclerosis or other illnesses or loss of people. But love is trust in ourselves, in other people. Love is understanding the abundance that we often look for because we look at numbers, virtual numbers on our bank account, or abundance of time, abundance of health, abundance that already exists everywhere. And am I claiming it to be mine or not? So it's everything. It's our happiness. It's caring for other people. It's the understanding that we're all one and we're all connected. You want to only believe what is, black and white? Go look at that energy. Energetically, we're all connected. We're not as separate as our fear make us feel. And when we understand all of this, when we step into all that is already here existing, and I understand that I am a part of it, whether or not I want to, I'm already a part of it, but I can enjoy it. I can flow into it with it, or I can keep resistance and have challenges. This is the true way to allow it to become me in a full way. So living from love, understanding that I am already love, all of this that I just mentioned, and much more really, is our way to heal, to emotionally heal from terrible things that happened to us, from getting hurt, from losing things that were important to us, people, money, stability, whatever it is. Love is just the answer for everything. And I learned it because of my journey with MS. It has been, for a time, the darkest time I've had in my life. And boy, I went through some darkness throughout my life. But what the MS brought and the level of depression, and I am going to mention it. I don't necessarily like to talk about it, but I'm going to mention it because I have a feeling that some of our listeners are in that place. So I want you to understand it's not the end. There have been a few times that I wanted and were very close to end my life because I just thought it's never going to change. And I didn't want it the way it was. I had an idea of what I want life to be. It was very far from my idea. I did not see how that ever comes together again. And I wanted to end it because maybe next time, if there is one, it's going to be better. Let me just end this. And I'm so happy that I didn't, because I discovered, and maybe that's the biggest thing that I've ever learned. I discovered that if there's something that I truly want and truly set my mind to, I can make it my reality. And then I proved that it's possible. And since then, I'm teaching people to create the exact same thing in their lives and seeing every day how powerful creators, people, everybody that wants it is just a wonderful thing I can be a part of every day of my life.
You said something I thought that was really apropos and was really in the point. And thank you very much for telling us that heartfelt story of the reality of what can happen to some of us if we feel that there is no hope. So I just want to express again that don't stop. Look at the beautiful light that Talia is being and with who she is. So I'm so happy that you didn't make that choice. So finding that beautiful space that you are in now, you said a point right at the beginning where you said you had to receive it. You had to accept it, that this is actually in my reality today. This is to accept these graces that come, to accept the gift that really hard to frickin' see at the time, but to accept it and to receive. So tell me a little bit more about that. How do we accept something like we would have been, something that we were diagnosed with that seemingly we feel is out of our control?
Yeah, I think most importantly is to start with the understanding that I can do and experience things that in the moment I may not know how. It's okay to face the truth, the fact that I may not have the answer to an important question that I have. But staying with the question, not choosing from the limited moment that I'm operating in, is already you choosing to keep the door open, to find something out that you don't know yet. One. So that's actually very important, because if I only operated from what I knew back then, what I knew is what my doctor told me, and the very shitty doctor Google as well, that basically told me life is done. Whatever you wanted to do was a nice dream, but that would never come to life. So you have to be okay with understanding that what's happening right now is a part of your journey, is a part of you getting to what you want and what is available to you. It just looks a little bit different than what you had in mind. And isn't everything like that? I mean, almost each one of us had a thought when we were children about what we're going to do for a living, the looks of the partner that we're going to have. Oh, she's going to be blonde with blue eyes. Oh, he's going to be like super masculine with all these like, you know, traits or looks or hair and whatever. And then life goes on and you realize that you had something in mind, but you just found out there could be even something better. If you just understand that this simple thing applies to everything in your life, and let go of the attachment to the way you thought it should look, to your control, to having it the way that you told yourself is the right or best way. Here is where you're actually starting to give yourself opportunities. New opportunities can show up. You open up the door to more possibilities. So what is acceptance? You just asked me what. It's the same thing. Accepting that life does not have to look the way I thought is right. And if you think about that for a moment, I'm a human being. I have a very limited understanding of this creation and where I can take myself. Why? Because the way we think, obviously, the more work we do, it evolves and we open up, you know, other opportunities. But generally, the way human beings think is we take the past, evidence or proof or results or either things that happened to us or stories that we heard about other people or we know about other people. We take this past and then we say, well, let me look, based on this evidence, based on the past going this way, based on me failing here, not succeeding here, blah, blah, blah. That's what my future is going to look like. That's what's possible for me. And this is just so dangerous, because if I'm going to decide what my future will hold based on the limited experience that I've had up to a certain moment, I will also be limiting myself to a future that is as limited as my past. But there is a higher power. There's a higher creation that has the ability to see and plan and love me and direct me and lead me on a journey that is way bigger than my perception, my limited mind. And when we accept the present moment, understand and are willing to believe that this is right for me, even though it feels really shitty right now, and it does sometimes.
Yes.
I don't always use proper language, please.
That's okay. We're in a safe space.
If I am willing to accept it, even though I don't know what's waiting for me yet, I don't have anybody telling me, Talia, for sure something great is going to be on the other side for you. Just go through this. I don't have this signature that's saying that's for sure going to be it. If I'm willing to let go of my resistance to the unknown, those two accept and let go of resistance can already energetically open so much within you that it will open you to opportunities, results, sometimes even in symptoms going away and healing. Obviously, this is a part of it.
Right.
That's beyond what you think is possible, because you are going based on what you heard, experienced, read. Like, we're human beings.
So are you basically saying that we take our past and we bring it forth into this present moment of our reality, and then we start to limit ourselves based upon our experiences of the past? For example, I'm going to Christmas. Uncle George is crazy. He's going to be doing this. And we already start to predefine the way that it's going to be before we even get there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great example. And even more than that, I can be, let me just give you an example from specifically people with multiple sclerosis that I worked with.
Sure.
In the past, those people had failures, just like we all do, right? They really wanted somebody that they loved so much, but the person chose to leave them. They had a dream of creating a really successful business in a field that they really were passionate about and cared about, and the business did not succeed the way they wanted. They raised children, and the children are not to the standards they wanted their kids to be, based on what they wanted for them. All different examples that people would take and title as a failure in their life. Okay. And then they come to a situation that they were diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Each one of them got the symptoms that they got. We know it's different for everybody.
Right.
And they have this voice telling them, don't worry, this is not the end of the world. You can heal, you can reverse this, you're going to find a way. Yeah. And then they end up finding me, finding me, and we do some work, and then we realize that the fear of their failure that has been in the back of their mind for so long because of whatever experiences they had in the past that has nothing to do with their health, really.
Right.
But they have a belief about them that they are a failure. I am a failure. I am not successful, even in the things that I care about the most. I'm not good. Even when I put my heart and my life into something, I'm not making it happen. I fail. So this belief is now determined, what they're going for. Some people literally said, I don't think I'll be able to make it, and then chose to not join the healing journey and not do anything, and went back to the same way they lived that led them to the diagnosis.
Right.
So this type of thinking of like bringing the past to the now affects the choices that we make. And then on another level, it's our belief about ourselves. And we know that our beliefs is a part of the equation for manifestation. And if I'm coming from, I'm a failure, I'm broken, I'm any of those,
right,
whatever reality I create for myself, whether health or anything else, is going to be in alignment with those beliefs about myself.
So could you say that at this point, your diagnosis and all the entire journey that you've been on has been a gift into this moment of this realization that you are ultimately a creator?
A million times and more. I would never, ever trade it. I have moved from darkness to light. I've lived most of my life with anger, self-hatred, hating other people, judgment. I was constantly feeling that I'm just not good enough. Even though I had amazing grades, I was successful in everything that I did, every job I was doing, in a younger age, I was breaking records of years. Like, I had a lot of proof to how amazing I was, but I was living in a state of lack, of fear. The way I call it is a fear-based mind. I was operating from a fear-based mind, living a fear-based life. And when you do that, the only thing you could call in is fear-based experiences. There's really no surprise. I was diagnosed with an illness that is attacking me when all I was doing since very young age is attacking myself, just internally without a sound.
You were basically living multiple sclerosis before you ever received multiple sclerosis, the diagnosis.
Exactly that. Exactly that. I was able to see with my eyes, but I was not seeing the real truth. I was seeing a reality that I made up, an interpretation that I was living by, telling myself this is a fact. But it's like, you got something now. What do you do with it? What do you do with it, Matt? Are you just going to do the exact same thing that brought you here? Or are you going to look at it and understand, hold on, there's a higher creation. Even though I feel terrible right now, there's a higher creation, higher power, universe, God, call it whatever you want, that loves me so much, that cares about me so much, that has helped me overcome every challenge. And boy, there have been many. Each one of you, look at your life. There have been so many challenges. Yeah. It has helped me overcome it all successfully. Maybe not based on what you wanted, but successfully. You're here now. And it loves me so much to give me this current challenge because it wants me to wake up. It wants me to live life to the fullest. It wants me to fall in love with myself, with this life. So it gave me something to shake me up. And it hurts, but it doesn't have to hurt any longer if you choose to let the lesson in. And there's science, and you and I both know it. Obviously, there's so much science behind all of it. Yeah. It's not woo anymore. And people saying, oh, spiritual bullshit. That, like,
yeah. And it makes you chuckle a little bit because, you know, when we look at multiple sclerosis as being a wake-up call to something much bigger than we are, I like how you had mentioned that if we try to dictate the outcome, it's from a very limiting perspective, because that outcome is dictated based upon our past experiences, our perception of how the world works. And it really looks at it from a specific lens of our perception. So now you're saying that when we start to surrender to that, receive it, accept it for what it is, then we allow it to begin to expand bigger. And I love how you open your arms. You're like, of course, this is getting big. So even in your mannerisms of who you are being, you are expanding. So really taking it to that other level from those of us that may feel like this is a death sentence, this is the end of my life, this is the way it's always going to be. And this often happens when we are not seeing the gift that has been given to us as this realization that we are limitless beings. We are creators. So we get to, and I like how you said on that basis too, when we're diagnosed, we'll start to use words like I have or I am, and our I am shifts to this reality of having the progressive symptoms that the doctors, Dr. Google, like all these individuals that are in the medical profession tell us that this is the way it is. So we believe it, we say it, we speak it in our word, and that becomes our way of being.
Exactly.
For everyone, all these incredible listeners that are watching us right now, what is a step they can take? So like, even if it's a micro step, like a little step that they can take. Let's say, so word you said is like, okay, I get it. This is not the first time I've heard it. I have no idea what to do. How would you lead an individual that is in that space of just almost that I don't even know if I even want to take that step?
Well, that's a tricky part because you get to know you want it. If you don't know if you want it and you choose to be here, you're always going to go to comfort. And comfort is in the known. And known is what you did yesterday and the day before. So you're never going to change anything unless you truly set your mind to the understanding that this is what's next for you. What's next for you. So I think that's an important part because it just comfort or a sense of security with being in a place that I'm already familiar with is a strategy of the ego. And the ego is here to stay unless you start working on it. It's going to keep driving your car and take you to pretty bad places in life unless you start driving with your higher self or from love to create love-based life. So a choice and telling yourself, convincing yourself that you can must be the first part, the first step. The rest will just not be sustainable if it's not it.
Mm-hmm.
But so I say, it's not just me. Obviously, there's science. Go to like dive into epigenetics and understand that, you know, everything is there. Everything, there's a proof to everything. And the doctor's telling you that you're a victim to your genes is just the biggest bullshit that I've ever heard of. There's just so much proof that it's not the case. But I would say, I work with people. I think the reason that I'm seeing such miracles in my practice and people are getting from terrible states, the doctors tell them you'll never get better, you're never going to see, you're never going to walk, you're never going to be able to do anything that you're saying that you want so much. Yes. And then seeing them doing it in 3 months is just proves miracles, right? But what I'm doing is using a lot of healing modalities simultaneously, right? And what I'm seeing that is the most sustainable and is creating the biggest impact on the body for something that came to stay is really work on our mind and our perception. Epigenetics, right? Epigenetics above our genes. It's just like epidermis, for those who don't really get it, the top layer of our genes, what's above it, of our skin, what's above it, right? So it comes and asks us, okay, we have the genes, but we learned that in order, like genes they need to be expressed in some way. They're going to be either turned on, do this, or turned off and not do this, right? So what makes them do what they do? What makes this person that has these genes that are correlated, they're not a cause, they're correlated with MS, be turned on and have this disease showing up in their life? What is it? And what they found is that it's the environment within us, the invisible environment, which is what's in charge of sending the signals to the genes and telling them, you buddy, do this terrible MS work. You buddy, actually activate this healing process that you can do that you were created to do. And this environment, obviously food is very important. I'm never going to tell anybody eat junk food and focus on your mind, because our goal is to accelerate it and find a result that you want in your body as soon as possible. Right? Nobody wants to be like, oh, let me get there in 2 years if I can get there in 3 months.
Right.
So what you eat is crucial, I think. And what was found to be a huge part of what's in charge of sending those signals and telling them how to work, the expression, like I said, is our perception. Because there is the life or the space within me, and then there is what's outside of me. Right? World, people, behaviors, actions, things that happen that are out of my control. But my mind is the part that's in charge of interpreting what's outside, what happens, what I see, what I hear, what I touch, and then keep it within me. Whatever the interpretation is what I stay with. It's not that I experience reality necessarily. I interpret, I tell a story to myself about the reality. That's what stays with me. My feelings are about the interpretation, not about reality, right? So for example, I love to give this example because it just, unfortunately, so common. And I know that for me, it's something that was big in my life. When I was a child, I was dying for my dad to love me. And he just didn't. He had so many things that were more important. It's like, they have a great mother. She'll be their dad, their mom, and I'll do whatever I want. Yeah. And I had everything I wanted. I didn't really lack anything for most of the time. But what I wanted is his love. And I didn't look at the reality that I had everything I needed. What I looked at is the meaning that I gave for my dad not spending time with me, not answering me, not playing with me. I made up about myself that I must be unlovable, that I am an unlovable kid, because parents have unconditional love for their kids. My mom had unconditional love for me. Right. But he used to not love me, so something must be wrong with me. It's a thing kids do. We make things about ourselves because we don't have the understanding we do as adults. So I lived from that space of I'm not lovable. So, and I had emotions of, I had sadness. I ended up having a lot of anger towards people, feeling wrong, feeling whatever. But what I experienced within my body had nothing to do with the fact that my dad wanted to go out with his friends, with the fact that my dad slept over my, school ceremony, graduation, whatever. My emotions were about, Talia, you're unlovable. So if I learn to shift my interpretation, my perception, the meaning that I give to what happens outside. I managed to change my whole life, including my health.
Yeah.
It is the box that we put ourselves in that become the jail that we end up living in that we hate so much, but we get stuck in this cycle that we are in charge of keeping or breaking. So it's the awareness part of how is it that I interpret that make me feel the way I feel, that made my body develop this illness. And am I willing to be wrong? Oof, this is the biggest. Am I willing to be wrong for the way that the way that I had it throughout my whole life until this point? I'm 36, but sometimes people are in this stage and like 50 years old, 60 years old. Are you willing to be right, to be wrong about the way you had it? All the things that you thought were facts, were the right way, maybe even the things you taught your kids because you were really sure that's the right thing to do. Are you willing to be wrong about that so that you give yourself the opportunity to be right about what is going to heal you and free you from this illness?
That is powerful, because that statement right there, are you willing to be wrong? But you pointed to something earlier. The ego doesn't like to be wrong. The ego wants familiar. So everything that is driving core within us is stick with what you know. It's safe. Like, even though what you know is the genetic triggering of the gene of multiple sclerosis, and then living in that space of multiple sclerosis, it's easier to live. Okay, I'm going to make a statement. Is it easier to live in multiple sclerosis than admit to yourself that everything you thought may be wrong?
I think it's tricky to use the word easy here.
Okay.
So, and I'll explain why. Because oftentimes we operate and live from the ego. So if you don't have the ability, if you're not in a place that has the ability to determine, who's speaking outside of my both, who's thinking for me? Is it my ego or higher self? Then you may say easy about what is wrong for you. So perhaps another way to ask it would be, what is more important for me? To be right or to live in a healthy body? To be right or to be able to choose for myself and for my life and for my future? Be able to walk again, be able to see again. What is more important? Then you almost force yourself to admit the truth.
And when what is more important becomes bigger than what we were diagnosed with, we begin to walk a different road. We take a different step down that way. I like how you had mentioned eating a healthy diet. Yes, a healthy diet, I believe, is very, very important. But when you eat a healthy food, whatever it is for you, celery juice every morning, lemon water, a plate of vegetables, whatever you're eating, does that help your current as much as the eating of foods that our bodies naturally want to digest and propagate off of? Is it really the basis of feeling good that you ate something good, having as much strength as the fact of just the food itself?
Not if you're in a state of living in this fear-based mind, because then you interpret things from a place of lack, and then your interpretation and the way you see things, you view from lack. So you can't see abundance, right? So if you're living in that kind of space, you would probably think something like, fucking hate that I need to eat all these vegetables. I eat it and I still don't feel well. So why do I need to eat it? Give me my mac and cheese. Or, like it comes with some energy that is already so negative, and you can see the good. But even more important than that, I think, is the understanding that your body was not designed to live with constant, ongoing stress and living in fear. Because what is fear? You kind of expect that something's going to go wrong at some point. Something will get screwed up, even if you do your best. Life is bad. People are going to hurt me. Like all these negative situations or worst case scenarios that we live in. And the human brain is just so good in like thinking about them and focusing on them, even when everything is good. And when you live like that and think like that, the body is in regular state of stress and survival. And when it is in that stressful place, it cannot do other things the way that were designed, that they were designed. So, for example, there's so many systems. The human body we know is brilliant. There is, digestive system. There is your immune system. There's certain ways that everything's supposed to happen for your health to be maintained and for everything to your body to sustain itself, let's say.
Yeah.
And stress is normal. Everybody has stress. We don't live in some woo-woo world that, everything is love and abundance. But stress, if it's temporary, the body can manage to experience it, go through it, end it, move on. It takes about an hour for the body to come back to regular operation when everything happens the right way. But if I constantly live in that state, if I constantly live in fear, if I constantly have stressful interpretation to whatever happens to me, then my body does not have this comeback state. I can't be like, oh, let me pause doing focusing on digestion and handle the stress. I constantly am in stress. So now I'm not digesting the food regularly. My immune system malfunction, the blood circulation changes, and I'm not even thinking in a creative or clear way. And eat all the vegetables that you want in this state. If your body doesn't digest it, nothing. Right. Yeah.
And especially if you're sitting there at some point putting a little bit of shame, oh, I have this, it's the holidays, I wished I could have this. If I wasn't this way, I would be eating. So at some point we start to judge ourselves for the ailment that we essentially, is what you're saying, created within us. We basically fired off that specific genome or that specific genetic trait that basically said, okay, you fired this, I have to follow through. But you're saying at some point, we also have the option to go the other way, that when we sit down at the holiday dinner that we are going to have coming up here, to say, I am honoring my body. Oh my gosh, look at what I'm going to give you now. I'm going to give you a big plate of vegetables. Grandma's award-winning stuffing is not as good as how I feel right now. And honoring ourselves in that process, you're saying, is a very powerful big step for us.
Absolutely. And you see how everything is connected to love, and why I'm saying love is what heals, because your judgment is going to create more stress, more like, I'm not good enough, I'm broken, I'm different, I'm not whatever it is for you. And judgment comes again from fear, comes from comparison. Who's more, who's less? If you have more, I have less. If I win, you lose. Somebody always has to lose. Like this type of lack mentality. And when you stop judging yourself, it means that you fell in love with yourself on a different level, higher level, because you understand that, just like you would say for your child. I'm not a mother yet, but I'm sure that when I would have a child, even when they do some bad things, I'd be like, oh, you're still the most beautiful creation in the world. Like, I love you so much. Don't worry. Tomorrow is a new day. Why are we not talking like that to ourselves?
Yeah.
Like most people that I've worked with MS have a huge beat up stick. Huge. They can see so easily what they do wrong and how they fuck everything up and where they should have done better. Like the judgment sound in their voice is so big. So it's a lot of work on letting go on this judgment and understand that making mistakes or not having things done the way you wanted or based on your agenda, all it is really human. And yeah, you are human. You know that. You can feel yourself. You can see yourself. You are. So let yourself make the mistakes that human can make. And then give yourself a chance to go for it again and create better results tomorrow. This is a great way to evolve and move forward in your plans towards your goals. And when you put yourself down and judge yourself, most of the time you're sad, you're angry, you would get more symptoms, you would feel like a failure. You'll say, I tried so hard and again I failed. So fuck this, let me eat my cheeseburger and do whatever I want and drink alcohol or do drugs or whatever it is. And I'm giving up on this journey. It's not because the outcome is not there for you. It's because you're not truly going in and you keep holding yourself to your past.
So ultimately, letting go of our past, loving ourselves fully from within, and exploring the limitless possibility of our existence here on earth, on this plane, then we start to get, we open our minds to and open our hearts to different things, down from, let's say, this present moment in the external reality. When we go to the holidays, we open our hearts to that present moment. So the crazy Uncle George that comes in, we don't bring the fear that he's going to say something or do something that is going to make us feel uncomfortable, which is truly a false expectation appearing real. We go into it with that open heart of love. So if he does, we just let it, almost like water off a duck's back, or let the leaf just drift past us on the river, giving it no perception of our past, saying, oh, this is the way he is, like, and letting it lead us to stress. We then basically can make the choice right there in that moment, living in the present moment, to lead us to love. So no matter what he says, it's how can I love him?
You know, it's the most beautiful part about this, when I'm seeing people in this journey. I mean, of course, what you talked about, if somebody listens, you may think this sounds so abstract. How do I do that? And right, it does sound really big. Obviously, you know, when I'm leading, and I bet same way with you, when I'm leading people on this journey, we break it down to things that are very chewable and actionable, and it's a step by step, and you grow with that, and you don't need to guess on your own. There are proven methods out there, but I think one of the most beautiful things, and I do want to say it now just for the opportunity for one of you to remember this around the dinner table, the holiday table. One of the most beautiful things is understanding that I make the mistakes or the wrong things that I do for myself, for my health, usually because of events that happened to me that I perceived as traumatic in my childhood. And it ended up becoming who I am, or how I behave and think and feel as an adult. Right. So if I'm hurting somebody, if I did something that is out of my character, or hurt somebody for whatever reason, even if some people would say it isn't in alignment with my character, if I did something like that, probably it is in some way related or connected to what I made up from the experiences, the traumatic experiences that I had in a younger age. Because a lot of who I think I am today, who each one of you think you are today, is because of the protection, the layers that you put on yourself with the initial thought of, I need to protect myself because people are here to hurt me. They're going to break my heart. They're going to bully me. They're going to hurt me physically, emotionally. However, people are not here to love me. Let me protect myself so I survive. It all becomes about survival. So we act out of that, and then we get to, like, we're 30, 50, 40, whatever. I think I know who I am, but all I really know is who I became as an outcome, as a result of all the hurts that I had in a younger age.
Yeah.
So when you realize that, when you start diving into this and realize, oh, I can take this off, this is actually not mine. Well, we protected me at some point, but I don't need it. And well, I can take this off and this off and this off. And you realize how much you said and did in your life out of this protection. You realize that Uncle Joe is talking from the exact same hurt, and that they have no idea, and they're trying their best, and it's all that they know. And if they knew something better, they would do that. But most people, unless they get a gift, like an autoimmune disease, multiple sclerosis, or something else that is major, they don't necessarily get the opportunity and the blessing of learning these tools and letting go of them so they can live freely. And the uncles around the table probably have a lot of pain, and that's the only reason that they hurt with their language.
But we get to choose who we want to be in that moment.
Yeah.
We get to choose how we interpret this perception, what is happening in this moment, and how we want to respond to it. Because we can respond with stress, anger, shame, everything that is fear on that side, or we can approach it with love.
Yeah. You know what I like doing in these kind of situations? Because obviously it happens to everybody in some way. I like, if I can in a moment, if not, I'm going to the restroom or something, or a place that I can just be alone, and I close my eyes and I imagine that person in my, with my eyes closed in my mind.
Yeah.
And then I'm sending them love. and I'm sending them blessings, and I'm sending them just anything good that I have in my heart and that I would like to wish for myself, for anybody. And
Right.
this helps me shift from a state of, oh, he just hurt me. Why does he talk to me like this? Oh, am I broken? Or am I stupid? Or am I whatever that you guys tell yourself? You can't have both love and fear in in the same moment. If you choose to share love, you immediately letting go of all the hurt that that person just made you feel.
This is powerful, Talia. Like when you're really looking at these moments, we have a choice. So we get to choose whether or not we want to lean towards love or we want to lean towards fear. Neither are wrong. There is no right or wrong, but it's still our choice of which way we want to be in our present state of right now.
And healing is all that. That's just what it is. It's the right now, the choice that I choose to make now. And if you realized that you made a mistake, or it's actually not what you were planning, but something happened, you got caught up in a moment and you just did something that's not in alignment with healing, right now is already a new moment. And that moment is past a few seconds ago. Go for it again, and go for it again, and go for it again, and choose yourself and choose love and choose healing. And it's inevitable. You're going to get there if you're following the right steps.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is absolutely, I could speak to you for hours. This is such brilliant words of wisdom that I believe wholeheartedly that this journey of healing is a choice. I get to choose what food I eat. I get to choose what supplements I take. I get to choose how I feel. No one chooses this for us. So we get to rise to whatever we want to. And being that there is no right or wrong, it just is in that moment. So leaning towards this aspect of love is doing things that have us feeling good, loving ourselves deeply from within. So you are such a beautiful beacon of light. I love who you are being. I love the energy you put out there towards healing so many and the difference that you are making in this world. So thank you so much for being a part of this symposium and sharing your words of wisdom. I hope you guys take it to heart and tell us a little bit about your free gift that you want to give away, that your holiday gift you want to give to individuals.
Yeah, I think that's a really important one. I think I wish I had that when I got diagnosed, and that's what had me creating it. I think one of the biggest challenges people with multiple sclerosis have after diagnosis is that most places they go, they find evidence to why they can't, why it's over, life is over. And unfortunately, our mainstream healthcare, most of our doctors are not in a space of start telling us the neuroscience that was proven and found and we know is true. They keep telling us what is part of their method, their work. So I've created a short masterclass that I'm sharing there some of the scientific facts for why actually healing from multiple sclerosis is possible. Because I believe that, like I said earlier, we constantly look for facts and evidence and what happened to people and what was found to be true. So if you will give your brain evidence that will support your healing, you'll make it easier for yourself to go there. So that's what you're going to find in a masterclass. You're going to find some of the evidence, some of the philosophy behind it, and how I think you can get there too. And then a couple of successful stories of people that really quick achieve these results because they chose to. So I think this is really powerful. I'm inviting all of you to watch that and enjoy it and create the life that you actually want to be living.
It gives us this beautiful opportunity. So thank you. Yes, take advantage of this beautiful gift. It's just a little step. It's a little step, no obligation, just sitting there at some point saying, okay, let me explore what Talia is saying, talking about, seeing if it really has any depth for me in that moment. The best step we can take is the first one and just exploring that. So I want to thank you so much again for being with us during this symposium. Is an absolute, I feel I have chills running through me in regards to who you are being and the light that you are.
I really appreciate it. I'm grateful for you choosing to spend the time and effort and energy to create this and make such a difference in people's lives. I hope each one of you is going to take what you're learning, what you're hearing in, and remind yourself you're the most powerful creator and the most brilliant being in your life. Trust yourself. A healing journey is also a journey of learning to reconnect back to our intuition, understanding that we have the answers for everything already. And I'm asking you, I'm almost begging you, be willing to be wrong. It's worth it. Thank you all.
Have a wonderful holiday, Talia.
Thank you so much. You as
Thank
well.
you.